parents and caregivers, it's Miss A here from the Northeast branch of Reading Public Library, here for the latest installment of our Learning Literacy series, teaching you all about early literacy and how to build those very important early literacy skills with your child so you can get them ready to read. So this month we are going to be talking about the 5 practices of early literacy. But what 5 practices are they, and why are they important for you to do with your child? If you want to know, keep watching to the end of this video. So in our Learning Literacy series so far, we've talked all about our early literacy skills, the things we want to build for our child. So what I want to talk about in this video is the practices, what we do to build those skills. So obviously we've talked about specific activities, games, strategies you can use for each skill in the past, but we're going to talk about the 5 practices that are the best ways to really help naturally build those skills with your child. So those practices are reading, writing, talking, singing, and playing. So these are so important for early literacy, for early childhood development, and let's talk about why they're so important and what they can do for your child and your family. So the 5 practices are 5 simple, powerful, and fun practices we can incorporate easily into our everyday lives that can help establish a strong foundation for early literacy. So when we implement these practices in our everyday life with our child, we are going to be building those early literacy skills, that phonological awareness, print awareness, letter knowledge, vocabulary, and background knowledge. So if you get a packet from Northeast, we have it all packaged up in a fancy mermaid print go pack for you this month. It'll have all the information that we're discussing in this video and this handy graph, which we'll talk about each of the 5 practices and which early literacy skill they are best for helping build. But what I'd like to do in this video is just take a brief second to walk you through all 5 of these practices, why they're important, what they do for your child, and how they might come into play in your everyday life or how you can put them into play. So the first off is reading. I think this is really easy for most of us to understand. Obviously, if you want our child to learn how to read, we need to read with them. So when we read with our child, we're building their vocabulary because we are putting them into contact with new words, because we're learning about new subjects. If you want to learn more about that, go back to our vocabulary or our background knowledge videos. It will help them, reading with your child helps them learn to love to read. It motivates them to read more, things that are great if you want them to be a lifelong learner and a reader. And of course, it helps build their print awareness, which, as we've talked about in the past, is their knowledge of how books work, you know, how we turn the pages, how we hold them, all that good stuff, which they will definitely need once they start. So what are some tips when you are trying to start reading with your child? Well, I'll actually dive into this a lot more in next month's video, which is going to be all about reading with your child and dialogic reading, which stay tuned next month to find out more about what that is. But one easy way is to share stories that you love. If you can't think of what book you want to read with your child, what's the best? Think about what books you might love as a child and read those. Can't think of one? Ask a librarian what their favorite book is. You can build print awareness by having your child turn the pages. Make reading fun by using a lot of expressive faces, gestures, movements. Build their conceptual knowledge and background knowledge by talking together about what's happening in the story and asking them open-ended questions. It's also great to use board books with your child, which we have a lot of board books available at Northeast Branch Library for borrowing out of our library. But board books are really great because even little babies can handle them and really get used to holding and, you know, interacting with books. So the next of the 5 practices is writing. So when we're writing, we learn reading and writing often at the same time, because if you're writing, you're reading. But also writing doesn't just encompass writing as we know it, writing in whatever languages you speak, but it includes scribbling and drawing. Anything that can get your child to hold a pencil or a drawing implement is going to help them build fine motor skills. They'll need to hold pencils or pens when they're writing in class. Holding a pencil or a crayon helps them build hand-eye coordination as well. Important stuff. And when they are writing or drawing, they're understanding that things that are written or drawn down have meaning. They represent something else. So if they're not ready to even draw, even though there's some great like triangular shaped crayons out there for really little kids, but you could build those little fine motor skills. Give them a piece of paper they can crinkle up. Have them scribble. Another thing I really like to do that we actually went over in a past video on letter knowledge is you can have them trace lines in the sand or the dirt. In a past video, we sort of made a rainbow bottom for a box and we filled it with sand. You could fill it with flour, rice, and have them trace lines. The next of the 5 practices is talking. You always want to be talking to your child from the time they are very small. When children watch, listen, and participate, they're learning how to communicate and what words mean while building their vocabulary and their conceptual knowledge. So when you're talking with your child, you're giving them more vocabulary. They're learning how different letters and words sound. They're learning the meanings of those words. And as part of their conceptual knowledge, they're learning how different words are put together to create meaning. I feel like this is a pretty obvious one for how to do with your child. Just talk. Ask them questions, tell them about your day. If you look in past videos, we have a lot of different word games you could do aloud together. You can talk about the pictures and stories in books. The list just goes on and on and on. Another great thing with kids is singing. We talked a lot about singing in our video on phonological awareness, which you can also find in our learning literacy playlist. So singing is great because it slows down language. We are basically breaking each note in a song is a syllable usually. So they are really getting pieces of words, which is really helpful when they're learning to read, and they really have to piece together words phonetically to try to read them. Singing also can help kids develop their listening skills, learn about rhyming, all sorts of good stuff. When you are singing with your child, there are so many great classic songs out there. It's really great if you can incorporate clapping, tapping, something that helps them break apart those syllables to really drive home what we're trying to get them to learn. One thing that's great with kids, because not only will it help them with their literacy skills, but also it'll make things so much more fun, is to add songs into your daily routine. Did anyone else sing the cleanup song as a kid? Clean up, everybody, everywhere. Yeah, songs like that. Make it fun. It might even make your routine a little bit smoother. Another thing is just sing and rhyme as much as possible. Make little songs into your tradition, share your favorite songs, just have fun. Again, singing isn't just great for learning phonological awareness. It's great because it'll teach them to have fun learning, to have fun doing basic things in their routine, and it also help you to bond. Now the 5th and final of our 5 practices is playing. Playing is so important for kids, and I'm actually going to devote a whole video to this later on. But for now, if you get our packet, our Go Pack at Northeast, there'll be a whole 12-page packet in there all about playing with your child for their early childhood development and early literacy skills, and it's all broken down by age to tell you what kind of play is developmentally appropriate. So children need to play. Not only is it fun, but it's so important to their development. They are building their conceptual thinking and their background knowledge, because to play you need to know the rules. And that's exactly what you need when you're reading. You need to know how print works, and you need to know how sitting in a classroom works. They're going to learn basic great life skills through playing make-believe. When you're playing, your child is developing narrative skills through imaginary play. They're acting out real situations, like which I said, It will help them develop listening skills and observational skills when they are taking things from their life and bringing it into playtime, but it also, when they're playing with you or with other kids, really help them build up that vocabulary and that sort of memory bank of background knowledge of different situations, which will help them not only in the classroom, but in life. But also, you just learn so many great things about being a wonderful little human being when you're playing with others. You learn about cooperation, communication, being kind and good manners with others. You also could learn about construction, different things with science and technology. The list goes on and on. You can really just make play so educational and just so fun. But one thing that's important to remember is that you are the most important toy in the room. So the thing your child will really benefit the most from is attention from you. Try to go in there, hang out with your child, spend time together, incorporate all of the other 5 practices. And you don't need to have expensive toys to play together. You can use anything around the house, and using that imagination is actually really great for your child. And also, starting whenever our code numbers are low enough, so starting probably in the fall, we will be back to having our dramatic play centers, and when those are back up, those are great for imaginary play. We usually have a grocery store in here, sometimes a veterinarian station or a nursery, and we also have all sorts of early literacy games that we'll eventually take back out. All right, so those are our 5 practices of early literacy. Just to recap, we learned about how reading, writing, talking, singing, and playing are all important to our child's development and just really key in building their early literacy skills that get them ready to be lifelong learners, ready to read, ready for school, and ready for a great and fulfilling life. So I hope you learned something in today's video, and join us again next month for the next installment of our Learning Literacy Parent and Child Caregiver Education Program. Have a wonderful rest of your month.